caucus regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough Club led for Monday, June 8, 2020 will come to order. This meeting is live in Borough Hall and online for residents and the public. Please call the roll now.
Councilman Borowski?
Here.
Councilman Lamb?
Here.
Council President Salem?
Here.
Councilman Stockdale?
Here.
Councilman Fincher?
Here.
Councilman Philpott?
Here. Please give the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting has been closed to the public physically and will be live streamed via YouTube with comment period for the public. Notice of this remote meeting was posted on our website with instructions on how the public can connect to this council meeting.
Thank you. At this time, we ask for a moment of silence. A former resident, character of the community for at least 60 years, George Cady, passed away. You may remember George from being an employee at DPW for many years, and then after he left DPW, he was the janitor at the Loveland Elementary School.
Yeah.
And I think he was there for over 40 years. He did move out of town. He lived at 35 South in Vance, right?
Yeah, 111 van.
And moved over to Toms River several years ago. Not that old of a gentleman, I don't believe, but they'll be missed. After the moment of silence, I'm going to ask Councilman Lamb.
Jeannie Wenzel passed away.
Okay, so
Was not aware of that. I didn't hear that.
This morning.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, and Charlie Mason passed away. I'm not sure.
Oh, my, you're kidding.
Yes.
Last week.
Cancer got him very, very quickly. I saw him playing at the Crabs Claw the night before they shut down. The last night that you could have a beer in the Crabs Claw, he was the entertainment there, and then he got sick right afterwards. So, Gene Wenzel, another longtime resident, owner of Salties, and Bob was a fence guy, and he was a councilman.
What did she?
That was great.
She's sick.
Rick, his son, was a councilman. So, Gene, I think, was in Florida. Sorry to hear that she
And
passed away.
daughter-in-law too, Britta.
And Britta. One was the daughter, Britta-in-law, but Britta was the daughter-in-law. So let's keep those three in our thoughts for the moment of silence, after which I'm going to have Councilman Lamb lead us in the pledge.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone back to our council chambers, and welcome the public audience on YouTube. Things are slowly getting back to normal here. My microphone's not on? How's that?
There you go.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We have a few people here in attendance maintaining social distancing, but a lot of people in town. Memorial Day snuck by us without the formal ceremony. We did do the video. But there are a lot of people in town. A lot of people are anxious to get back to normal. Our businesses are struggling out there and dying to get back to serving. We are entertaining some proposed dining plans for some of the restaurants, so we look forward to the next couple of weeks to getting closer and closer to normal here. I'm hoping by the time the beach opens on January 20th that we will be June 20th. We'll call it January. That we'll be as close as possible as normal. So with that, I'm going to move on to the agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of caucus regular meeting of May 4, 2020, and the regular meeting minutes of May 18, 2020. If there are no corrections or additions, I'll ask for a motion on the
So moved. Second.
And a roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Reports, I believe that Mrs. Philpott does want to give us a brief synopsis of her report.
Just a few overview numbers. Just for the record, May report on construction, we did bring in a net revenue of $18,575. So despite the COVID-19 shutdown, we're doing quite a bit of construction in town, slightly above average for the last few months. In the court, we had 55 tickets in the month of May. 48 of those are traffic moving violations. free parking and for disorderly persons. I have 2 months of police overtime. I think they're interesting. For the month of April, we were minus 62.5 hours, and for the month of May, we were minus 18.5 hours, totaling 82 less hours for 2020 so far. We were ahead by, if I remember correctly, like 100 or something, back before these reports. So we made up a lot of overtime in these last 2 months. That's it, my
Very good.
If there's any questions, I have them in writing.
Thank you. Michael, you want to give us a little synopsis on beach fence?
Yes.
Where are we in relation to last year?
I didn't bring last year's, I wasn't one on the initial agenda, so I didn't bring last year's, but it's off to, all things considered, it's a pretty good start. Pre-season bad sales, we're looking at 5,156 badges sold for $257,700. Senior badges, 1,483 sold, $29,660. 9 disabled at $135. 729 parking stickers, 10 trailer stickers, that comes to $7,790. Altogether, $295,285.
Thank you, Mike.
And I expect it to ramp up as we get closer. More people are turning in the order forms all the time. Now it's a constant flow, so.
I heard a few complaints about not being able to pick up on the weekends, so.
We can start this weekend, they do start.
So that would be happening, and that's what
Yes,
I thought.
yep.
Thank you. Bobby, you got anything to comment on
I
this?
just want to make a couple of remarks, and just to let everyone know that Public Works is obviously very busy with the getting the beach in operation. Lifeguard stands were repaired and painted. Just to mention about well 4, the rehab took place in a very timely fashion. It's complete, it's online. A lot of the COVID signs where they had to make signs and install along the boardwalk about keeping your distance of 6 feet, and the beach has been great on a daily basis. Some of the other things I wanted to mention is there's a couple items that they may have been discussed before, but one of the items was the 2024 F450 dump truck that we were talking about purchasing. And I know, Mayor, you and I had this conversation. It's just going to make us, that Public Works, a lot more efficient, not to have to use the rack trucks. Not only in transporting sand off the beach, it's going to be a lot better, but it's also going to be used for the utilities, transporting a lot of the sand off the after storms from the street ends and the bayfront, and also for recycling, handling large metal and cleanup items that are currently transported by other pickup trucks that put a lot of strain on those. So just wanted to mention that, but I have a whole report of all the pros.
Well, then I'll save my comments about the truck for that. That's going to be good.
Okay, that'd be
later. Yeah, okay, good. I know we've been trying to get a truck from the county for a couple of years now and just haven't been successful. I know they need one down there. Okay, we also have the tax account report for May 2020 and the revenue transaction report for April 2020. I will accept the motion on.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Finter?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
Mayor, I didn't get a
Motion
chance
is
to,
good.
say my area.
Sorry.
But I just wanted to tell you that, I want to thank everybody for the virtual Memorial Day service. It was beautiful, and we had almost 400 people watch that. I mean, that was
Okay.
great. Almost 400 people watched our service, and people were thrilled with it. And our friend Bob Cummins from New York comes down special, and he just loves it. And I gave you all a picture that he took. Are they seeing this? They
are.
A picture of all of us here in this room doing that service. It was really wonderful. And so you're all getting one, and you all signed one for me to give to him because he was just thrilled to be here. You know, we always had wonderful wreaths down there. I was called by people. Melinda called, isn't anybody doing wreaths? I said, no, we're doing it inside the Borough Hall. We're not going to be down at the field. Well, a lot of the organizations sent money anyway. Heritage sent us $100, the LBA sent us, the PTO sent us some money, the PTA sent us money. They all sent money. We were using that money towards the plantings down there, because it looks beautiful. And also, I told Melinda, please do a wreath. Do a wreath. Make sure you do a wreath. So she did, and she brought it down there, compliments of all the organizations in town. And I was glad because when Bob Cummins took the picture, he included the wreath and the monument, and everything's just thrilled. And I called up the newspaper because I wasn't too happy that they didn't put pictures of the beautiful signs of all the boys lost. I think that would have been a very important thing to put in the Ocean Star, so I was very upset about that, but I think it was a great idea, and it looks beautiful, and people are looking at it and enjoying that. I just wanted to read you something real short. The kids missed, I didn't realize the kids missed this service so much, and this was a second grader that wrote this. Memorial Day weekend. There's a picture. Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend is very fun. It is filled with cookouts, beach, and bike rides. One thing we always do is go to the Memorial Day service, the remembrance service. The service helps us remember people who fought and died for our freedom. A fallen soldier who was from La Valette, one of them was Major George Pullman. We always remember him. I always liked the service. We'll miss it this year. So I thought that was, the second grader wrote this in school. I mean, out of school, because I'm not in school, but that was beautiful. So yes, I wanted to share that with you. And also, I love the signs that are all over the buildings. We have one in our building, but all of the businesses, we're all in this together. The LBA, they were $100 each, and they all bought signs, and they're all over town. And Channel 12 may be coming down to take a picture of them. I called Channel 12 and sent them two pictures. And they said, isn't that great that the whole town joined in for that? So Channel 12 may be coming. I'll let you know later.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, on to resolutions on consent. I'll read them by number and allow council comments. 148, reappointing the tenure of Christine Searfield to the position of tax collector. That's reappointing with tenure, effective July 1st, 2020 through July 1st, 2024. 149, employing 5 temporary seasonal laborers for the Department of Public Works. 150, appointing Pam Casino as the badge checker supervisor and Jack Casino as the lifeguard captain for the 2020 season. 151, appointing lifeguards and lifeguard officers for the 2020 summer season. 152, recognizing June 15, 2020 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. 153, appointing badge office staff for the 2020 summer season. 154, authorizing the refund of a duplicate electric utility payment amount of $24.02. 155, authorizing the refund of an erroneous electric utility payment amount of $125.59. 156, accepting the donation of 2 American flags from Nicholas Simzak from Bond Avenue. 157, appointing badge checkers for the 2020 summer season. 157A, amending the 2020 capital budget. Mr. Bryce, what are we amending that with?
That's going to be a downward amendment because the cost, the initial budget was for $300,000 estimate for the New York Avenue project. It has now been downgraded to $250,000.
So we saved 50 grand. Very good. Any other comments on the consent agenda?
If I could have 153 pulled to off consent.
Is off consent. Can I have a motion if there are no other comments?
So, second.
And roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes,
Council President Salem?
thank you to Nicholas Simzak for that flags. That's a wonderful thing that I think he's done that before too, so I'm proud of that. And I'm going to abstain on 157 because I'm very proud to say that my grandson is going to be a badge checker, so I'll abstain on that.
Oh, we can,
We need to pull it off
we need to
consent.
pull it off.
Pull it, okay, pull it.
Yeah.
All right, 157. Then I need a motion with 153 and 157.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any other comments? Roll call on the consent minus 153 and 157.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes,
Council President Salem?
yes,
Councilman Stockwell?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. 153, appointing badge office staff for the 2020 summer season.
I'll move it, Mayor.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borakis?
Abstain.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Abstain.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 157, appointing badge checkers for the 2020 summer season. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borakis?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Proudly abstain.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Number 158 is the bills list, the amount of $710,233.02.
So moved.
Second.
There's no council comments. Ask for the roll call on 158.
Councilman Borakis?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Ordinance on for introduction, first reading, bond ordinance number 2020-005, bond ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements and to improvements to borough roads, including portions of New York Avenue, in and for the borough, appropriating $465,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $148,500 in general improvement bonds or notes of the borough to finance same. How much of that is the road project?
250,000.
So of that total amount, 250 is for the road project, which is typically paid in full with a grant by the state of New Jersey. So that doesn't leave us a whole lot. The rest of that is for, as Bob had alluded to earlier, the purchase of a new dump truck for DPW. We have been trying for a number of years to locate one used, unsuccessful. I guess they're in high demand. And it certainly will make the borough more efficient, that's for sure. You want to make some comments on that, Bob?
No, I think I explained to you a little earlier that I think it's a well-needed piece of equipment. You know, the beach is so much larger now. For us to use the treks, try to get over the treks, over the dunes is going to be tough for such little load. Just one big load and get the sand back on each side.
Okay. We also have some financing in there for repairs to DPW facilities. We've been discussing those for a number of years, but one of the buildings needs a new roof. The siding is a little bit shabby considering the improvements that are made to the rest of the borough. We need to keep our facilities looking as good as the rest of the houses. You want to talk about that at all, Mr. Bryce or Bob?
Well, either way, Mr. Bryce, I don't know if you have other comments, but we've been looking at this for quite a while, and the longer it goes, the more maintenance, obviously, we're going to need. Some of the buildings need to be addressed, whether it's structurally, and roof on one building needs to be looked at by a qualified roofer. But some of the other buildings definitely need siding, and they really need to be addressed. It's been a long time coming.
Okay. And what was the fourth item on that list?
Fourth item is the electric meters.
Oh, yes.
That's the third phase of our electric meter.
Yes. Since Sandy, we have been replacing the electric meters to more efficient new models, and this is the third and final phase of that.
Yes.
So this will take us to completion. Every electric meter will have been replaced in the borough, and they are remote read as well.
Yes.
They can be read from the street where the people don't have to go right up to the electric meter anymore to do the reading.
Which is a real good thing.
It's a good thing. Yes.
Yes, keeping people
Yes.
away is a good idea. Okay. I will accept a motion.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Councilman Borakis?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
The motion is approved. I don't have a date here for the final reading.
June 22nd.
June 22nd will be a public hearing and final adoption. Thank you. Unfinished business, discussion of new outdoor seating restrictions and requirements under the governor's executive order number 106. Mr. Bryce, want to take us through that?
Yes, Mayor. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes?
Yes.
Last week, the governor did come through with Executive Order 150, which gives the borough the ability to work with the restaurant owners to have outside dining. Basically, tonight, what we consider is all the businesses are going to have to comply with all provisions of Executive Order 150, the Department of Health protocol associated with Executive Order 150, which is now under Executive Order for the Health Department 20-014, and then the Alcohol Beverage Control Directive regarding Executive Order 150, which goes under SR 2020-10 for special ruling. What we're going to basically talk about, consider tonight, is any other provision that we would want to put in place that ties in with our normal governing process regarding outside seating. We have a procedure in place for outside table and chairs. We have not processed that yet this year because we were waiting for the governor's executive order giving us the permission and the restaurant owners the permission to do so. So now we can go ahead and process that. There's a few things that we want to concentrate on. The first thing we may want to consider is normally we charge a $75 fee. We're going to want to consider, do we want to go ahead and do that, or do we want to assist the business owners in any sort of effort with that fee? The next thing is this executive order gives us the ability to expand the footprint that they traditionally use. We had talked about altering our existing ordinance. This gives us the permission to do it under emergency orders, since we haven't formally addressed the ordinance yet. This gives us the ability to do so. What we can do is give them the ability to go onto neighboring areas within the vicinity of their restaurant. And it also gives us the ability for them to use common areas. They say, community areas, something that we would set up if we had a park, in the area of all our restaurants. It's something we can use. We don't have that, unfortunately, in the park. Basically, all we have is some sidewalk on the side streets and some portions of the side streets that we would possibly be able to butt into. Going on to Grand Central, I think, is a non-starter for several reasons. You would need to get state permission. I would be reluctant to even apply to the state for permission because of just safety issues associated with having people sit on parking spaces along Grand Central.
I saw the state denied somebody asking to close the street off today. The state denied that, so they're unlikely to do it anyway.
Yeah. So these are things that we need to consider, as well as other provisions. I want to get this out and get it clearly out to the business owners. I sent this out last week to all of you, as well as the Lafayette Business Association, who sent it out to all of their members. And we're trying to get them this information. Some businesses have given us their preliminary plans. I don't know if we need to go into that tonight. The process is going to be that these owners are still going to need to apply to zoning. Even if we waive the fee, they still need to make the application and get the permit from us. And they're going to need to go through the zoning officer to do that. They're just going to use the documents that you give them tonight.
Very good. Sorry.
But we're going down. But we have to make sure that, the zoning officer has the guidance in what we want to do. But make it clear to all the business owners, they still have to apply. Their plan still needs to get approved. The seating cannot infringe upon the passage along the sidewalk. We still have to allow ADA compliant passage in all directions adjacent to any of this area. One plan that was submitted, I don't know if that necessarily does. I don't know if it was drawn to scale. If it was drawn to scale, it's probably not ADA compliant. Another plan, I don't know if they are fully maximizing their own property before they go on to any other property. So again, these are things the zoning officer will look at. Or tonight, I'll probably just go ahead and give them the guidance and lay out how we want them to address this. The provisions of the executive order are going to stand. They have to apply with all those provisions that I sent you. It's just that we want to go ahead and amend any more provisions.
I think it's a good idea that we waive the fee.
Yes,
I think any kind of help that we can give to.
They've had enough trouble.
Mr. George, do you have anything to add with that?
No, I don't. I'm glad, Mr. Bright, that you pointed out that some of the proposals that we talked about in amending the sidewalk seating are actually incorporated for the pendency of this emergency. In particular, I want to point out that creative planning would allow the borough to actually allow the usage of its space. I know some towns are allowing use of parking spaces and restricting parking alongside establishments. I'll point out also that with regard to service of alcoholic beverages, the COVID-19 permits, the special rules under SO 2020 says, they call it the quote TOTSI system, goes initially right to ABC, and then they kick it back for municipal approval. It's supposed to be expedited, and the application is not very difficult. It's simply to use adjacent space, which the borough has also talked about doing. The only thing that everyone should be aware of is that although the masking issue is not required because social distancing is required in the setup, if a patron is coming in to pick up or order inside, and they go inside, they are required to be masked. Essentially, the inside of the establishment is closed to the public unless they're doing pickup or ordering. But other than that, the outside seating appears to be pretty favorably spread out. The one recommendation I have is if the borough is concerned about giving approvals for these, Mr. Bryce has mentioned the zoning officer or perhaps the code officer even reviewing these, you might want to consider whether, does he, is that person the person who grants the authority? Otherwise, you have to wait to keep coming back to the municipality for resolution. And that's one thing that I would suggest you consider tonight before the open seating starts.
Additionally, the chief of police also makes some recommendations to Mrs. Fulton. I'll let her cover that.
Yes, I spoke to the chief actually this morning about this, and I don't think we have to go over the specific plans that are necessarily in front of us right now, but I do think it would be beneficial if we can come up with a couple of very basic guidelines tonight, and I'll give you one that I have in mind, and it's the only one that I'm thinking about. They have to provide walking space for people that are either going to the restaurant or just passing by. So there's a plan on paper here that the sidewalk is completely used up with tables. That's not going to fly. So I don't want the business people to waste their time planning stuff that's positively not going to be acceptable. When I spoke to the chief, he's concerned about the walking space. He is concerned about what the businesses must do to secure the tables and chairs on the off hours, concerned about the sanitation of the street or the sidewalk, the area where the tables are after hours, of course, not when the people are there. Sanitation, safety, and the walking space. And if the streets are involved at all, or even if you get close to it, I think we need the chief of police, Mr. Bryce, pointed out something to me today about the site triangle. If they're like, a couple of them are asking for a parking space for pickup. I asked the chief if he would consent to letting them use the crisscross area at the corners where there is no parking, just for the hiccup, and he has no problem with that. But as Mr. Bryce pointed out today, if you had a big van, say, just hypothetically, that pulled into that space, would the site triangle be affected? So the plan has to definitely be not only with the zoning officer and the code enforcement, which is the same person anyway, but not only there, but it's going to have to go by the chief of police. So if we don't want them to come back to us, then we have to, in my opinion, we should establish the guidelines for those two borough employees, and then once they both approve, I think it's pretty much a done deal. It's going to be their combined recommendation. I don't know that I have to sit there and peruse every plan personally. I'd rather entrust them with some guidelines and let them implement.
Anita?
I just wanted to say, I was at the Crabs Club the other day. They have that outdoor bar. We went down with our masks, whatever, and had a drink and talked, and I was looking at the place, they don't have much space at all. They don't use the sidewalk, there's not much space for tables at all. And I'm looking at the area in front of their place, which is the lines. I'm thinking somewhere they have to have a place for more tables. And I don't know if you want to just give that some thought. I was looking at President Avenue, the first 3 parking places on President Avenue, on the corner. There's a space before the corner, and then there's 3 parking places. And I thought, wow, if they could move those planters they have on the curb, on the 3 foot from the curb, they could move them out. They could possibly make a safe place for 4 tables in those 3 parking places. And that would have to be permission from us. So I just want you to think about that.
Mr. President, did everybody else get this plan from the Crabs Club?
It should be in the back.
Oh.
Oh,
Because
Is that
they
in
submitted
there?
a plan.
Is that?
You have
Yeah.
it, Anita? Oh,
Yeah, it's
Sorry, I
here.
didn't see
But
it.
that will not work. There
No, I
was no
understand.
place.
We have a couple variations.
Yeah.
I think like Mrs. Fulton, but I think we just.
One variation, I mean, that's what I don't want to happen, that people think that they can just do whatever they want, and it's gonna be true.
Yeah.
They must have walking space, they must have.
That's a requirement of the governor's.
They have to
Correct.
protect the site triangle if it's on the corner.
I think there needs to be some sanitation every night that they serve out there.
They
They've
can
got
use
to hose it
adjacent
down.
properties with permission.
Do you want me to go over all the governor's order?
Yeah, why not?
And I do think, Mayor, that it would be good to let them know that if they happen to have a property where there's that, I don't know what you call that area, where you can't have any parking in the corners, where the state took away parking spaces and it's all crisscross, that could be a pickup place. That's a 5 or 10 minute stop. That's not anything, and no cars could be left there. I mean, it just has to be enforced. It's quick.
If your recommendation is to have the chief and also our building inspector take a look at it, you're gonna go with his recommendations. Great.
Yeah, we're just gonna be giving him directives as to what we feel he should be implementing.
Correct.
I don't.
Some sanitation.
I think it's important point that we don't overlook tonight, that if we're going to allow, the businesses to even apply for these spots in the roadway adjacent to their corner, I mean, is that something we're going to allow? And
You still on the plan, Bob, the
temporary.
one restaurant is around the corner, I'm not gonna mention the name, but has tables in the street. Now, that's borough property, that's the borough street, that's not the state highway.
Right.
Mr. Bryce had already discussed the
Right.
likelihood of rejection by the state of anything on the highway and the hazard that presents. The question is, do we allow these restaurants that are on the corner to wrap around to the side street to some extent, if they provide their own barricades that would prevent,
That's what I'm
Oh,
wondering.
Based on this plan, you're consuming 8, parking spots.
right?
I'm not adverse to it, but I think we should have a standard that, every business has 1 spot, 2 spots, if they're in that position, the people that are in the middle of the street, obviously they're, that's.
It's only for 4.
So it's a good point, Mr. Borowski, brings up, because we do have 2 other businesses, one that's on the corner, the other one's next to it, and they actually have opposite hours of attraction. They are looking to go to cooperate with each other, so it's great. And also ask for the parking spots on the corner. Now, that would be an example, like you said, where that would be maximizing that space, and we'd be able to have just 1 or 2 spaces for 2 restaurants.
And 1 or 2 spaces, but you have places where there may be a food service next to some place where people want to park and shop. So by benefiting the food service facilities, the stores that people are looking for a place to park in the downtown area, we've often said Loveland doesn't have a parking problem, they have a walking problem. But unfortunately, that's the reality of it.
I think if we use Google Earth, that, we can lay out a lot better too.
Yeah,
Taking
but
pictures.
the governor's directive is gonna kick in before we have our next meeting, so I think we need to set some guidelines for the chief and Mr. Bryce to implement and allow them to use their discretion so that these businesses can get functioning as soon as possible. When the governor says go, they're ready, not, they gotta wait for another council meeting for us to decide whether or not, their plan is appropriate. So I think we need to give them guidelines and let them, and it can be adjustable. I mean, if,
Is your microphone on?
not on again?
Now, for some reason, two of them would all automatically, we'll just monitor that throughout.
All right.
I don't know why they.
Sorry about that. So some guidelines so that they can open up right away, and these things need to be flexible. I mean, if we find out that they're creating a problem or a hazard, we need to be able, under the executive order or emergency order of the chief of police, to go down there and make some changes to it. So, you know, all approvals are subject to constant review and change. If we find it's not working or it's unfair to some other business to a great extent, then we're going to need to have to do some adjustments. I think the borough's been very resilient throughout this crisis and being very adaptable to the, you know, the situations as they arise. We can't be fixed and firm. So I think we've already laid out pretty much what we're looking for here. Some sanitation, obviously safety, pedestrian access, and anything else that you want to breathe into the chief or Mr. Bryce's ears, and that they can then accept these plans from the businesses and have them approved before the go time, the start time of this.
I just want to make two other points. First of all, it should be very clear that this is an emergency permission, so to speak. So who knows what the governor's going to do tomorrow? Every day it's a new story. If by some chance we go back to what we used to have, what was our normal in terms of hours and accessibility inside, all of this goes away. This isn't a blanket permission to keep this going for the season unless the governor makes it such. So that's the first point. And then the other point has to do, and I did notice that there's a request about another matter from Lenny's new facility up in the north part of town, which would, I don't know what his plans are. If he wants parking, he may want to open in time for at least part of the season.
He hasn't even submitted a plan for seating in there. I mean, he's, as far as I'm concerned, got a long way to go before the borough.
Well, just in case, but even if he doesn't open, we do have one business with a liquor establishment, and they are permitted under the governor's orders to serve drinks outside at these tables and also to sell cocktails in containers for takeout. Neither of those provisions give anyone permission to take the container open to another location by car or by foot or by any other means. That is absolutely against the law. That has nothing to do with this particular crisis. That is always the rule. So I don't know where people are going to wait to get into these places. You're going to have to keep social distancing there. They may wait in their cars. They can't, and technically under the law, they can't buy a drink in a container for takeout and then go sit in their car and have their cocktails. So that needs to be made very clear. And you certainly can't go for a walk up the street or on the boardwalk or down to the bay with the open container. And there's already been some issues with that. And so I think we need to make it very clear to the establishments that it should be sort of, I don't know what you do, it should be at least informative of
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're not waiving any of the other controlling ordinances in this situation. Maybe the state's allowing you to expand slightly with your alcohol service, but you still can't consume public, you still can't be walking around with open containers, certainly can't be driving and drinking. But really, I guess the threshold question we have to address now, direction-wise, is are we going to allow them to occupy borough streets to some extent? Yes or no?
I vote yes.
I think as long as they can do it in a safe manner.
I don't
And
know.
the social distance.
I'd rather see them put the tables on the sidewalks and use the street maybe for pedestrian walking, but to have the tables and the streets and I mean, the one plan is totally out of the question, in my opinion. There's just too much going on and no place for the pedestrians. Mr. Bryce mentioned the ADA compliant passageway. Do we know how big that is? I mean, how much space are we talking about? 3 feet, 4 feet?
I'll get that for you.
I mean, they have to leave a minimum of that amount of space on the sidewalk if at all possible.
I thought it was 3 feet.
I think it's 3 feet too, but I don't want to swear to it. And I don't know, I'm not a business owner, but what do you want to sacrifice? A few tables or all your parking space for the people that are gonna possibly sit at those tables? We don't have parking as it is.
But with increased availability of options, nobody's, cramming to get into the crabs club because they know that it's limited. You're not gonna have them parked all the way up the street. 'Cause
In the
they're not really open.
in the governor's directive, it is highly recommended that the restaurants work on a reservation only kind of system to prevent the crowds from showing up all at one time.
When I was at the crab store the other day, they knew they could not. No. Well, I live right next to them. They were never thinking of blocking any sidewalks.
Well, this plan kind of implies it, so.
That's not what they thought. What they thought was the sidewalks would be free,
So
and they would take 3
Or the
parking
zoning
places
officer
on the
works with
street.
them on that plan.
Let them come up with their plan that works best for them. I don't think we should tell them. I would not object to taking a couple parking spaces on the side street.
So we will allow them to occupy some of the side streets, borough streets.
Let them take the parking places
Yeah.
for,
Whatever the chief and Mr. Bryce deem reasonable,
Okay.
right, as long as it's in the safe.
and subject to modification.
Okay.
Mayor, one factor that we do have to take into consideration, and I just want the business owners to know we're going to work with on this. Because of the location, some of them are on that portion of the beach block where it drains down to Route 35. Depending upon where that drain is, depending upon how many sump pumps are on that block, we may have some issues where we're going to want to help them avoid the sump pump deluge, for lack of a better term.
Something like down in
So that
the
is
water.
something that we might have to work with somebody and relocate it.
We'll be willing to be flexible here. We want to help these businesses survive, so we'll take it a day at a time.
And Ohana's, are we looking at Ohana's?
Well, we're not going to discuss specifics now.
Okay.
We're not going to deal with specifics. Okay,
I'd like to ask, though, as these approvals do go forward and get approved by the appropriate authorities, that we are noticed that what the plan is,
I think a written submission into your box would be appropriate.
or just a text that this has been arrived, and we have an opportunity to
Bob always
review
does
it.
this. Yeah.
Mr. George?
Phil, you there?
I am here.
Mr. George, how would you like to handle this? Do we do this by resolution or through emergency order? Have them adopt these provisions?
The way that it's laid out in the executive order and the implementation in the past has been by resolution. And a simple resolution, if you want to state the guidelines in it or simply allow it to the discretion. I know that Councilwoman Phillips brought up a good point, which is for on the streets, you need to talk to the chief of police. You could authorize the chief of police or the zoning officer to review and approve applications subject to the conditions set forth in the executive order 150 and subject to the following guidelines, which would be allow proper walking access into the establishment, allow proper ADA clearance along the sidewalks, and require that site triangles be unblocked to allow for the safe passage of vehicles. I think those are the three major points that you discussed that are not in the guidelines under executive order.
I like your good order there, except I would like to add sanitation provision in there, that they have to hose the areas down daily, nightly after they close.
To that point there, if they're going to put on-site, if you're going to have seating that's not directly added, would you also require that they provide some type of disposal if surface is made of disposable paper plates or baskets or styrofoam?
I think they're gonna be mindful of their own waste. I don't see that as an issue, but we will, maybe we'll wanna mention that we will, subject to the discretion of zoning and the chief of police, allow some occupancy of the street.
Okay.
And then the fourth condition, Your Honor, would be that the area that is used for the outdoor seating is, cleansed every morning or, cleansed daily, whatever, you would require.
All right, I like the resolution.
Yes.
Anyone?
Good. Okay.
One other thing that we have to, I don't know if we included right there, but we have to suspend the $75 fee for outdoor
Make
seating.
sure that's covered.
That's correct, that should be added, please.
Okay.
Wait, $75 fee for, outdoor seating is waived for the duration of the emergency.
Okay. We get a motion on that
So
resolution?
moved. Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
Aye. Just do a roll call on that.
Roll call.
Okay.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Pinter?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Is there any other unfinished business that anyone would like to discuss?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I don't know what's going on here.
If I could, Matt thinks he diagnosed it, when somebody's turning theirs on, it knocks the other ones off. So just make sure when you're speaking,
Are you going on and off?
but it's on.
You're killing
I have
everybody
been
else.
I've been going on
I just
and
been
off.
on now, and you didn't go up.
Let me see.
That
Am I
was-
on?
I think
And I just knocked you up when
I
I
could
go.
just knock me off.
Please forgive us for these again, we're the second time we do these.
Maybe that's the way they're supposed to be.
All right.
We'll
They
try.
show off?
Matt,
That's good. I'll speak in that general direction. Okay.
No, I
So,
don't.
I'm off again.
Yeah, that was me. I just turned myself back
that
on.
was Joanne.
Don't touch it.
We were unable to have the installer come back to the instructors on how to use these after.
Phil's off, turn Phil on.
Kicked in, so.
All right, I'm off.
You're wrong
It's
again.
like whack-a-mole here.
We'll get the lead here, cross out.
Am I on?
Oh, wait, so we
I'm
can
on.
mute other people now? You're off, Ollie.
You're not on.
You're off.
I'm on, I'm on. Okay, is there any other unfinished business? that we
Yes,
need to
I'm
discuss?
looking at the, I know the parlor and Lenny's Pizza, parlor, I know it's open, I don't know about Lenny's Pizza, but the Salted Gems, they had petitioned us a while ago for a 2-hour parking in front of their places of business. And that I know is, and I remember that mayor said, let's make sure that everybody is in this so we can do an ordinance and get it done. But with all this going on, we haven't been really able to do anything, but some of these places like Salted Gems, there's no place for people to come for pickup. So I've been calling the state, and of course the state, nobody's around, but I'm calling the state and asking them, is it all right if we take a parking place in front of that business and put a stanchion there or a cone and say for pickup only? So that if you're gonna come pick up, you can use that parking place, but you can't park there and leave your car there for 3 days without moving it, because then there's no safe place to park for pickup. So I've been asking the state if that would be all right, and sometimes when you ask them, they say, you shouldn't have asked me, you should have just done it, because they have to consider this and consider that. But that might be an idea by the parlor and by the Salted Gems. I don't know if Lenny's Pizzeria needs it right now, but it might be an idea to take a parking place in front of their business, put a cone there and a sign saying for pickup only. Because like Salted Gems has 2 places kind of near her, and those cars stay there all the
Well, I
time.
think Mrs. Philpott was talking about allowing them to use
The striped area.
the striped area after the parking spot.
So,
And they want to put their sign there without asking permission of the state of New Jersey. Maybe that's what they should be doing.
And if they put a sign, they really should limit 10-minute parking,
Yeah.
15, whatever they think is
Make their
appropriate.
own sign and put it
Put
there,
it in that space there.
right in that space. Okay, with a cone, okay.
If you're gonna let restaurants do it, I think we can let business.
Yeah.
do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Makes
And
sense.
then even if we want to apply for the 15-minute parking through the
That's no
state.
business.
Yeah, but even if we want to do that, there's no way the state is going to get that through now.
No,
Because
no,
they're not even open for business.
No, it's too late right now for that. That's why I was suggesting this. Okay.
I think the
so
Salted
let them know.
Gems though is looking for 2-hour parking.
Yeah, that's in the
Yeah.
next section.
Yeah.
That's a new business.
Yeah,
But apparently they're also asking for temporary, can they put a
Yeah,
cone out there in
pickups.
the meantime?
because
So,
they know they're not gonna get the
I
parking.
can tell you, just so you know, Lenny's new establishment, they're not looking to open until October 1st.
yeah.
Right, so.
And then-
When's the last, well, let's get to new business after we're done with the unfinished
All right,
business. Is
but that's
there any
another-
other unfinished business?
Mayor, if I could backtrack real quick.
Yes.
I forgot to mention, very importantly for people, especially the business owners that own that, Executive Order 150 doesn't only touch on restaurants, it does touch on brick and mortar, non-essential retail businesses, which we have a lot of in town. So, again, effective 6 a.m. on Monday, June 15th, just like the restaurants who were able to open for table service, the brick and mortar premises of non-established or non-essential retail businesses that were closed by Executive Order 107 can reopen to the public, provided such businesses adopt policies that include a minimum requirements that were applied to essential retail businesses in paragraph 1 of Executive Order 122. So I just wanted to.
And I believe that we received plans from most of the businesses several weeks ago that were in compliance.
Yeah, their plans actually not only met but exceeded a lot of the requirements. So again, I commended them for being ahead of their plans, but I just wanted to cover that. They do have the green light.
Very good. Okay. Then we'll move on to new business.
I still have some
I'm sorry,
unfinished
Michael.
business. A couple weeks ago, we were discussing the process of purchasing the daily badges. We have discussed it, kicked a lot of things around, look at what some other surrounding towns are doing, what was working for them and such. First and foremost, we consider the safety of our employees. We've been doing a great job with keeping our employees safe, with the barriers and such. There's been an influx of people coming in town. We're going to get an influx of new summer employees as well. So that's going to increase and keeping everyone safe still. We came up with, first thing we came up with was keeping it down at the ball field, plenty of parking, big area. You can handle the longer line. There's plenty of space down there. That works is if we, and following some of the other businesses and some of the other models in town this summer, is working on no cash, just using credit cards and such. And that can be set up to accept credit cards or debit cards or gift cards. If we're going to take cash, if that's something that we decide to do, that we're going to take cash for the daily purchases, it would have to be done here within the Borough Hall for security purposes of the cash. That is the plan that we came. That's probably the most feasible that we came up with. It takes care of the safety. It limits the amount of people that, the interaction, especially if there's cash, it's limiting the amount of people that are handling cash. I can tell you from the industry I'm in, banks are doing everything they can to limit the number of people that physically have to touch cash. And a lot of businesses are, there's been an influx of people down getting credit card machines that were cash only.
Can we accept checks?
For dailies,
How much is a daily?
I would say for this year, we might want to.
for the, being that this year is different, I mean, that's certainly an option. You can, absolutely, you could.
Because it's not cash, so it's.
Right, you could do checks, you could do, cards seem to be the most popular, even when we're taking cash. The thing that people are always asking, you don't have a square, I mean, to do that, and that's, that gets expensive. That was what we came up with. There's no additional charge to do that. It's $12. There's not the website that we had talked about, the online purchase, so there would be no surcharge.
But there'd be a 3% fee for the use of the card.
For the use of it, that's right. There would be on that. So, without going cash, there would be that, or the check that would, of course, alleviate that. But yes, there would be the 3% charge. That's so you would still have that. Wouldn't be as much as the system is, but that is the most feasible, safest way to go for this year.
Again, it's another area where we need to remain flexible, give a plan, a tryout, and if it's working, improve upon it. If it's not working, make the changes necessary to make it better. That's all. If that's what you've come up with now, then
that's.
What you're proposing is no daily badges sold at the beach at all.
No, we're trying to limit the transaction there.
I don't see a problem with it for us, you know, I think it could work for us easily, but I think you're gonna get a lot of complaints. If I drove down here and I found a parking space on the beach block to go to the beach, and I get out of my car and I walk up to the, wherever, the walkover, and I'm told there's no badges here, you have to go all the way to Jersey City Avenue lot, or you have to even come back to Borough Hall. Could we at least figure out if we could do some sales down wherever, Jersey City or here, and some maybe at the Philadelphia headquarters as well?
We kicked that around a lot, but just to sense of what some surrounding towns are. Most towns this year are limiting it to one location. We don't have unfortunately for us, we don't have the kiosk on the beaches like some of the other towns have. That would alleviate a lot of this. We don't have that. That's an expensive proposition to do. You'd have to build one.
Did anybody consider the pavilions? No, we did.
We did.
We consider that,
Yes.
what's that possibility we were talking about with the app, because that would be very simple, where someone's just going up and picking it up, we don't need the infrastructure there. But if we're putting people there to sell the badges, it could, if we man every pavilion, we're talking about 25,000 in salary. Then we have to make some sort of, requirements where we have, a table for them to work at, the plexiglass, and other things. And most importantly, if we're to do credit card, we have to have some sort of way for them to do transactions.
That's the way to do it. And if there's cash, then you need somebody up there.
With the app, it would probably work. Without that app, to be able to do credit card transactions, and it kind of took that off the table.
Maybe we could consider, lifeguard headquarters down the road if it's not working out so well and we're getting major complaints about the lack of availability.
You have a lot of parking down there at Chandler Field.
That was another benefit.
So let's keep it as a
There's
priority,
space
try to get the word out that you have to do this first, and maybe that'll work, and if it doesn't, we've got to be adaptive, we've got to be willing to
Right,
change.
and we did discuss being adapted to certain
Let's
things. I mean, there's gonna
suggest-
be times when we have.
We asked the police to put the signs up at both entrances of
was
the town.
another-
Daily badges at Jersey City Avenue
Yes.
only.
That's a good idea.
Right, that's what we're thinking, we have put that as well, that was the thought, and then adapt, if there comes a situation where you have to do it, then of course we have to adapt and take situations as they arise with them, and that's.
Yeah, okay.
And that was part of the discussion that we had as well that day. I mean, for this year, it's.
What about just a couple of employees on the ones, especially some of the supervisors on bikes that, we're 10 people want to go onto the beach and they can only sell.
If the major purchase is through credit card, Bob, though, how are they gonna be able to deal with the credit card on a bicycle?
Very similar to.
And you're gonna have 3 or 4 people riding back and forth, constantly going one beach to another, and it's.
Let's try your plan out. I think
We
we try
think,
it for starters.
That was one of the plans that we originally had, and then the more we thought it through, it's just, one person riding up and down, and you hit one, and then when it comes out, you hit the next street, and then you're back, and it just. I think it would hold, it would build up lines on the boardwalk as well, and trying to keep that flowing this year with the 6 feet and such, so.
Could we accept cash at Jersey City if we arrange for some kind of security? I mean, is it just the handling of the cash? Could one person at Jersey City be the handler of the cash? Could we have extra rubber gloves that are disposable? One person counts in them. I mean, the way you do it at your job.
Right.
If you had one person a day assigned to handle
Cash only.
all cash, which is a cash only line.
You have a security issue though, if you do this. That's not a good thing.
You could do one thing
You
that-
would have to arrange for security. That's what I said.
You'd be paying an officer to stand up there and.
Is it any less secure than a kid in the street end, someone, they had cash on them there?
16-year-old or no cash, selling badges.
It's more concentrated, I mean, it's all, he's in one position, it's being spread out 28 would be one. That's the only thing.
You'd have to do, I would think you would have to do numerous pickups during the day, somehow to get it to a secure location. But I don't know, I'm just trying to think of things that others will complain about.
Yes, yeah, well, that,
You know, the thing is though, too, when you look at, you know, informal, look at most of the other towns. Most of the other towns are doing this. You know, the same policy.
But they don't have 28 openings.
No,
No.
they don't.
No.
They don't. What we're gonna do, we're gonna put it on the website. We'll put it out on social media.
See how,
We'll put
take
it out
take it for a test drive, see how it goes. Be prepared to adapt.
Yeah, everything has to be there.
You could put the signs at the beginning
Yeah.
of 35 South,
That's
the
what I
beginning of 35 North.
that would.
Then people know where to go.
Well, you just don't want people driving up to get a parking space on the beach block and then be told they have to leave. Because, I mean, you'll have bedlam,
You're gonna send them
especially on
anyway.
weekends.
Okay, anything else, Michael?
That's all I have.
Well, you want to feed off that with the other issue? So feeding off of that, as we know, part of the executive order governing the opening of beaches from the governor was that we had a plan in place to monitor the crowd size. Mr. Spondel, Jack Casino, the beach captain, and I have all discussed this and are very aware of, you know, how best to apply it to Lot Wet. As we know, there's formulas out there and factors, and other towns are flying drones over people, which I think is a little strange. We're not gonna be doing that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rely on common sense. And what I'd like to do is entrust the beach captain to have the authority to, he and his designee will monitor the beaches. If a beach, a particular beach, becomes crowded, he will have the authority to tie in with the police, and then we'll go ahead and close a particular entrance, a number of entrances, or if needed be, the entirety of the beach, to make sure that no entrances, you know, there's no further entrances that would inflict a greater hazard upon safety. I think it's the best system because he's going to be able to tell what the situation is on scene, if there's complaints within the crowd, as opposed to just arbitrarily establishing a number. We've all talked about the number. You can't necessarily just say this beach is going to have a certain number of people because of certain factors that exist. Family members are allowed to be a closer distance than non-family members. That in and of itself kind of changes the whole factor.
Can't we just issue everyone getting on the beach a brick and then the rules are, you don't apply anymore, right? As long as you have a brick in your hand, you can be anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want, with or without a mask.
Mrs. Philpott and I talked about this, but I also talked to the chief. The chief is good with this plan of having, he has no problem with the lifeguard captain being able to make the determination and tie with police officers. It would be done orderly and a common sense factor. Other towns have a hard time with this, and I think we've learned from it. We don't want to have to do it. In all honesty, we foresee probably, if even, it needs to be a handful of times a year where you have to work.
Only expected on the weekends, and what we've done and tried to build in this year is DPW has got, we have extra stands down at the yard. Like Bob said, they're being painted, they're being maintenance, they'll be all set to go. On the weekends, we'll have those extra stands on the beach, ready to go. They can be pulled up and they can be manned. We'll have the manpower to man those. In between, you'll have like a 2-3-2 scenario or a 3-2-3, and you'll be able to put that extra stand in between where the current beaches are set up now. This will allow spreading out of the public because everybody likes to be by the stand. So this will allow to spread out, increase the size of the swim beach, and this will thin out those busy areas. And that's something that can be done on the south end of town. Dover to probably say New York, it gets busy, then it kind of thins out a little bit. Then around President and Reese Avenue, it gets a bit busy there. More concentrated on the south end because that's where it gets really busy on the weekends very quickly. That would we could put a couple of extra stands there. Maybe no problem manning them within the current framework, and that will thin that out. If it happens 3-4 times during the summer where we may even have to think about this, I would think that would be on the high end as long as we're prepared with those extra stands and we put that in place to be able to do that.
We honestly see it being more of a situation where go to the next beach down and go on the far end of the beach.
Right.
Right. You know, this one's closed, there's 2 entrances open.
Right, go either way, the next beaches are open.
They're on there and then where they walk.
That sounds like a good.
Tied in with that decision would be, when he did that for a particular beach, we would probably go ahead and signal to where the sales are taking place to stop selling dailies at that particular time. We may start again later in the day, but if it's to the point that we're assuming that the beach is filled, we would probably stop selling dailies at that particular time.
You're gonna stop selling dailies for closing one beach?
If it got to the point we were having issues with beaches throughout.
Throughout.
Right, yeah, it wouldn't just be for
If it got to
one
the- if
area.
it got to the point, he felt that it was becoming a larger issue where we have more people coming than we're able to hold. He could hit the pause button and say, let's stop selling for the time being, and then he could also engage that later.
You're just saying, give him the discretion and
Yes.
that's what, okay.
That's
But
a
it
good
wouldn't
plan.
affect the
Submit
people,
that
I don't
plan.
know, the season badges, but just, you know, you get a season badge.
Right, okay.
You know, it's not so much affect that, but the sale of the dailies at that point. And I'll tell you, I mean, if we ever get to that point, we're having a great season, so that would, you know. Just keep in mind, Iowa Beach State Park this weekend was full at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's at reduced capacity, right?
At a reduced capacity, yes, but, you know, that's,
Not normal capacity.
no, normal capacity. They probably-
There are some beaches that, first come, first served, even with a season pass. You're not, if it gets too full,
There were
It doesn't
quite a few
matter.
people on the beach this weekend here, I mean.
There was a lot of people around everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
yeah, Mr. Bryson, because of the water consumption.
Okay, moving on then, if there are no other unfinished business items.
This could be unfinished. We were very fortunate this year. This borough received $10,000 and a grant, a CDBG grant, to put an Atrax, which would be a system where it's a little bit harder, so people coming down from the ramp can get near the water. Oh, can get near the water. Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah. So, they've been, CDBG, given us the money, we're ready for that. And Jessica Krill from Beach Days for All said, whatever you don't get for the grant, we will pay the rest. We are ready, and they're in touch with me all the time. We are ready. Whatever you say, whatever Matrix says, you give them the 10, we will give them the rest. We'll send the check to them directly and you're all set. I think we have to start thinking about moving forward on this. We were also very fortunate with that, and the Matrix is easy to put together. Our public works can do anything, and this, the gal that talks to me from Matrix, she said, I can almost even do it myself, so there's no problem getting this in place. Then we also, Joanne and I stopped at a booth in November at the League and spoke with a man who has a company called Access Rec. And Access Rec builds these pathways so that these ramps that now are getting all full of sand, and people are getting a little bit upset about the fact that there's all sand on these ramps that go right down to the sand on the pathway. And he said he would do one for the Borough Lovelet, which is worth about $60,000. He would do one for us, one ADA ramp for free, because he also has some family members that live here in Lovelet, and he loves the town, so I will do one for free. I have been in touch with them because they're waiting for us to get in touch with them. And the gal there said, we are so busy because all the mayors in these towns are buying these access ramps to put on all their ramps because they're all having problems with them. And they're even talking with the people that built the ramps, what are they?
Army Corps.
Army Corps. They're even talking with the Army Corps because a lot of people are complaining about the ramps they left. So I think we have to start thinking about moving with the Matrix. We're fully funded on that. We're fully funded on the access rec. All we have to do is call these people and get it in place. And Bob's been working very hard because he was thinking that we had to, and I think you got the email.
There's a Sourcewell contract that they had, so we might be able to go through that.
Yes.
I'll be in contact with them.
Okay,
The main question I have with the Matrix is the location. I mean,
yes, we have to
figure out-
decide on what street. It's got to be one of the 4 wide streets. Well, I think President's very, very busy. I think Trenton's way back. I was thinking New York or Philadelphia.
The problem that I see this year, which was unanticipated when we talked about this, is we're gonna be limiting people on the beach by executive order.
Yeah.
Then do we really want this, not the ramp part, the ramp part is something different, the matrix on the beach, where people, now you have less space for the people to sit, because that thing, well, you know, you're gonna limit people, and then you're gonna put this up to
I
limit
think,
people.
I think letting the Borough of Loveland say they have one ADA.
Then put it on the biggest
for
beach
people.
we have, which I
Fine.
can't identify the
Why just
largest.
don't want it on your street?
I don't want, because we just went over the badges about how up to New York Avenue to Trenton is so crowded on the weekends. Now you want to take space away from those big.
It doesn't take much space. It's this wide and it goes from the bottom of the ramp to the water. And I think that is not a valid excuse. I think we should be working on this. We had a lot.
I have no problem with it, but put it on the largest beach that we can,
Right.
under these
Okay.
circumstances, in particular.
Okay.
And now, on the maps, I have one other thing. What's going to stop the sand from going on the map?
Well, you know what? We're getting this ramp map
I
for
know,
free. Why don't we try it and see?
You're gonna have to
If
clean it
it's a lot
up,
of
too.
trouble, we'll give it back. We're not paying $60,000 for it. We've got this free.
Don't you think the ramp and the matrix have to be on the same?
Yes, they will be on the same street.
I think it should go on Trenton Avenue. That's where Jim has his events.
Okay.
Waves of impact.
Is that where you always go to Trenton? Or you
I
go?
thought we were trying to put it somewhere in the middle. I know
We like New York
that
better.
the
We like New
one family that lives on Elizabeth.
Well, it's gonna be a wide street. It's New York or Trenton.
Yeah, Trenton's too
So
far
they're gonna,
down.
You know, they're gonna have to
New York is
move either way from Elizabeth Avenue.
it's more of a center street.
Yeah, New York is more
Okay,
center. That's why I like
I
New
think
York.
Trenton's a bigger beach.
Yeah, but you know, if you're driving to the beach, doesn't matter if you drive to Trenton Avenue or to President Avenue, you're driving.
That's true. But what if you're walking with a wheelchair?
Walk up to the beach.
Well, if you're walking from Bryn Mawr Avenue, you got a tough time going to New York anyway, so.
But I just thought New York was a little bit more in the middle. A little bit more in the middle. I would love it to be on President, make it easier for me, but
Okay. let's put on
President's too north.
Trenton.
President is.
President's too north.
No, she said she.
President,
I said I would love it, but it's too north and there's too much parking.
make a motion on President.
Crab's Law.
They could parking on every street in the summer.
No.
It really doesn't matter.
I have a motion on President.
If you lived on my street, you'd know how many people are
Yeah,
there.
we have a second.
We have a second on President. Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman
Okay.
Bilbon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Make it easy for me, yes.
Councilman Stogdill?
Yes.
Councilman Pinter?
Yes.
Councilman Renner?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Matrix,
Okay.
all of them noted, start construction.
Yeah.
President Avenue.
Okay, President, you move it.
Is there any other unfinished business? Then we'll move on to new business. We got a request from the Parlor, which is New Jersey and 35 North, and Lenny's new location on Haddonfield in New York. Haddonfield 35 North requesting changes to the 2-hour parking signs. They want 2-hour parking there. It's not there now. Do we know when the last time that we did this was? We were trying to not do this every single year. We were gonna wait a couple of years, survey everybody and ask everybody again
Oh, that was.
if they
We
want to
haven't done
change.
that. We haven't surveyed.
We haven't done that in a
I
while.
want to say the last time might have been, has it been since you're here?
No.
Because then it was John, I think.
I mean, this is not gonna happen quickly anyway. So why don't we send letters and see if we can, or contact the business association, Jim?
I did that already.
I seem to recall a conversation where the actual owner of that property has to request it.
Yes.
Not the lessee.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I also, I asked the LDA if there's nobody else that,
So Wenzel owns
Just
the
these
Parlor.
three.
Wenzel has to request it there.
Wenzel,
Wenzel's the owner of the property.
owner of the property has to
That's
do it?
correct.
Right, well, we better let these people know.
Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let them know and maybe send a letter and through the business association, anyone else wanting a change, do it now, or it's gonna be a couple of years before we'll entertain a change again, because it does require a change to the ordinance.
Yeah, I guess that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Can we do that right away, and then we can put this in so that it's in place, and then we don't have to.
Yeah.
we have two brand new businesses that just opened in town. One's on the boundary, but who knows if they want a space on 35, which would really be a lot less.
Yeah, since we have time, because we're going to have this in place.
Yeah,
for
state
summer anyway,
something,
So we have time, we'll work on it. I'll ask Beth again too.
Okay, any other new business? Mr. Bryce?
Mayor, as I informed you the other day, that actually the U.S. Fish and Game and Wildlife contacted us on Friday, as they were erecting signs and fence posts around 3 locations around Trenton and Elizabeth on the beach for a endangered plant species, which I forgot the name of.
Beach Amaranth?
Sea
Yeah, that
bass,
sounds-
sea bass or
That sounds
something?
close. Either way,
Sea bass something?
it's a very small plant. It's roughly the size of a silver dollar at this point, but it is an endangered species, and we have to take caution to make sure nothing tramples over it. So they are there. If people see the signs and
They put it
the
in.
barriers around it, please.
So we're gonna further limit access to those places.
This is on the beach itself?
It's just past the dune. It's maybe a couple feet from the dune. It's not going to kill us too bad with access.
Does it spread?
Possibly. Now, the thing is, it is indicative of a healthy ecosystem, which we should all be happy about. I'm going to be contacting them to see if,
I contacted him today, because he sent us that email again.
does he plan on moving it or? is it
Well, I
possible?
contacted him and I said, we would like some guidance here. We saw that it was, we told our superintendent that, to go and look, so his beach rake and then, doesn't interfere. But we also need to know what are we liable for here? I mean, what if a beach goer steps on it or their kid goes over and pulls it out? Like, we need to know what the next step is for us, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Is it prevalent?
No, it's endangered, so I guess it's
It's
not.
endangered.
Oh, good. So we found one of these,
No,
Yes.
they did.
Doing a survey.
What kind of survey was that?
Something like piping floaters.
I'll keep you posted.
All right, thank you.
Did they give any guidance as to what we need to do to protect it? I mean,
That's what I had asked.
like if you go to some places in the south where the turtles or where the nesting places.
put
with the
your
turtles-
beach chair on top of it.
No, they actually cordoned it off on the beaches and,
This has a little rope around it.
okay, well,
Oh, it does.
what do we, and I agree with Don, with what do we do with the vandalism at night? I mean, we have those poles to hold the,
We'll post a guard at each plant.
and you get both.
It's all allowed on the beach.
We'll get more information.
Of course, with the cuts to the police budget, then we might not be able to post the guards there.
We're not cutting the police budget.
Mayor, on top of that, I have another issue.
All right, thank you.
Got it, so,
Thank you.
the tennis court attendant, in keeping with, in years past, we've had that under the supervision of the badge checker supervisor, Mrs. Casino. With this year, we need her to be concentrating on the beach with our attendants up there. Particularly since they're going to be taking on a lot of the social distancing issues on top of checking for beach babies. We are not collecting cash at the beach, as we just discussed, we're trying to keep our attendants from collecting cash there. I looked into last year's numbers. We spent $7,500 on salary to have the attendant at the tennis court, pickleball court, and shuffleboard courts. We only brought in a little over $4,003, for a total loss of about $3,457. Considering again what we're facing with the health issue, having someone expose themselves to these other people, having an employee down there on their own, possibly collecting cash, possibly for this year. If we forsake this isn't an issue where we're not collecting revenue. If we don't have anybody down there, we're saving money. Not only the $3,500 we lost, we'll be saving the full $7,500 in salary that we're not expecting. So, that is something that I'm floating for you. We have an alternative, with the, well, a couple of things. With the bocce and the shuffleboard, I spoke to the DPW superintendent. The recycling center is a very close and convenient alternative for people to go to be able to get it from the recycling attendant and check that equipment out. Now, the thing about the equipment is, I'm not even sure at this point with the state's executive orders that we can even get that equipment out without sanitizing it properly between each use. So that's a whole other issue. But when it comes to the point that we can, I think having the recycling attendant who's already getting paid 7 days a week is probably a better solution for us. I know I've talked to some of you about, problems with either pickleball or tennis courts, about people playing fairly. I guess, I just want to point the fact out that, so we have to spend this money to have a high school kid go down there and referee the adults. And I really don't know any other way to put it than that. Maybe some people need to check their priorities and realize that during this time, maybe they need to share points. It's pretty simple. As far as that goes, you guys discuss it, and those are just
I think it might be a good idea to, I don't think that we've been giving the stuff out yet either. Once we're allowed to, then maybe the recycling attendant box.
Well, I don't see a problem with that. I can tell you the years that I had in the police department, some of the worst fights that broke out. Some people that sit there hours, we're up next to play tennis or something like that. Maybe this group will be better. You always hope that.
Can we get
I'm thinking
sign up?
What about us with this? Why don't we just have someone down there and don't allow them to play shuffleboard or bocce except for weekends? And then have somebody there on the weekends to give out the equipment right there from the shed. And only pay someone to be there Saturday and Sunday. Or if you want to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but don't have somebody there all week. But
still let tennis and pickleball be on their own.
Well, then
to figure out how to get through it.
Give them boxing gloves.
Could we have a sign-up sheet at the recycling center? That you have to come in and sign up for the court, so that you sign up by time, and when the next person's ready to go, if there's a problem, I would suggest you call the police department and have the first group.
well, that's what that person did down there. And I talked to a couple of people that work there, and you're right. It's always a lot of problems. This guy's still playing for an hour. If you schedule, the person down there scheduled them, so they knew exactly what time to come play, and it was much easier.
I would, Anita's suggestion about the weekend may be the case, because the recycling center on the weekend is crazy. That guy, those guys are working hard all weekend long. So to have them do it on the weekend, I think would not be feasible.
And I wouldn't, don't even let them play during the weekend until we see what.
And maybe I agree with you too, Mr. Bryce, not to collect any monies, just really to observe and to try to keep some control down there on the weekends.
I agree.
And everybody's on their own after that.
So you adjust the hours as we see fit?
Yes.
Remain flexible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I talked to about 4 or 5 people that work there.
Just weekends when
When we're allowed,
Yeah.
weekends only.
Rainy day, you don't need anyone, and maybe Pam can monitor that person, Pam Casino can monitor that person where if it's a rainy day or bad weather or too windy or something, everything.
Rains in the middle of the day, call them up, send them home.
Exactly.
The pay suckers are going home, they're home.
Yes.
The monies that were collected there, were they exclusively tennis fees, or there's some parking stickers that they were able to?
Oh, they sold
sell
parking
as
stickers,
well?
yeah, they're right, they did sell.
But I think the numbers that you had were strictly for the tennis, wasn't it, for the tennis?
I think, no, this would be tennis and pickleball.
No, but not parking.
Okay.
And the parking sticker sales in there weren't a whole lot. know,
They sold what?
basically somebody that came down there who didn't have one,
Yeah,
and the attendant would say, hey, you know,
Went
you
back,
can stay in
yeah,
the park,
sold-
buy
sold a lot.
maybe once a week, one the whole one.
Or before they, someone got a ticket written, they were in emergency.
All right, you got direction on that one, Mr. Price?
Okay.
Anything else that you have for us? Under new business? Any other council member with new business?
Well, I don't know if this would come under new business, but my point of the pavilion at that time was, you know, we were talking about
Yes.
possibly where they were going to sell the beach badges there. If we're not going to sell beach badges at the pavilion, I'd like to make a motion really to open them up, again, still with the 6 feet, but as you know, there's some people that,
That's what
probably
we
me
do.
included, I can't spend a lot of time out in the sun. So if you want to get still fresh air, I think you need that pavilion and for people to get some kind of shade. So I would like
To go
to,
there with carriages and.
yes. But again, you maintain your 6 feet, you know, you got your signs right there.
You want to, Mr. George? Mr. George, is that, would we be able to do that in compliance with Executive Order 143, open the pavilions? Because I know that they specifically do mention those pavilions.
Bill, are you with us? He's sleeping.
Gave up on us.
Bill.
Man, you're off. Let him check.
So you know us.
If it's allowed, open them.
If it's allowed, we'll open them.
Open them.
Is there anything with his phone that could be up? His mic is on right now, but I don't know about that blue light. Is that?
Mr. George?
Any objection to allowing them open if Mr. George gives us clearance?
No.
There's your direction on that. Thank you, Bob. Any other new business?
We call this new business, and I always bring it up, and I've got a lot of calls from people, and people are waiting and hoping that we're gonna be allowing bicycles on the boardwalk. The streets are very dangerous. People don't like spreading in the streets. Takes a long time on the Bay Road because it's so windy. They like being on the boardwalk a little bit, so I've been talking to some of you about it, if we can possibly get them back on the boardwalk.
I'm in favor of opening up, but I don't think that the danger of being on the bike route on Bay Boulevard really
No, it's not.
plays into this. And you just said it was dangerous.
No, it takes a long time, it's shifty, like, you know, they can go straight on the boardwalk, and that is a windy road, which we did on purpose. The Borough did that on purpose.
Yes, we have a bike path.
Yeah, but.
Good exercise.
I would like
It's a
to,
better workout on Bay Boulevard, it's
It's
longer.
a lot better.
Smoother.
One of my biggest concerns when we were talking about allowing bicycles on the boardwalk, before the new dune construction, we had these cut-throughs, and, you know, every street end there was a cut-through. The ice cream vendors would come up and ring the bell, and I just envisioned some youngster darting through that opening, not looking left or right, and crossing the boardwalk and having an issue as he was trying to get an ice cream. The new dunes have effectively engineered that safety issue out, in my opinion. Anybody walking down that ramp would be able to see a cyclist, and I think a cyclist would also be able to see anybody coming down that ramp. So that part of it, I think they've effectively engineered that safety concern out, which is the best way to handle a situation like that. The mornings from 6 to 10, it's incredibly busy with walkers and bike joggers, and I think that's the worst time to have bicycles up on the boardwalk. After the beaches open up, I think there's more of a east-west flow, people just crossing the boardwalk to get onto the beach, as opposed to in the heat of the day going for walks along the boardwalk. We live on the Bay Boulevard side, so it's easy for my kids to shoot out the driveway, go down Bay Boulevard to whatever street they want to go up, and get to where they want to go. I was talking to some people that they have homes on the Ocean Block with young children, and they have a cousin that's 10 blocks north of them, also on the Ocean Block. So Yeah, you could go down onto Route 35, onto the bike lane, hope that everybody is traveling in the direction that the law requires them to be traveling, hoping that a car backing up out of one of those angled spots after they just picked up their takey-outy is ready to, and in a rush to get home while it's still hot, and hope that that doesn't happen. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of people who are cycling enthusiasts riding on the boardwalk in terms of, the pelotons with all these high-tech bicycles, the folks that do the triathlons and such. I just think it's more of a safety thing for the people that need to get north and south or on that side of town. So I don't think the morning hour is a good time for it, but I'd be willing to explore other options. That's my opinion.
In other words, like instead of 5 in the morning to 10, give them 10 in the morning to 5 or 10 to 3. Give them a different time.
And just hope that the people that are up there don't use it as a speedway, because like everything we do, Mayor, we're subject to change.
Yeah.
Jim, I've been up there and
Bob-
people race from one end of the boardwalk to the other on a
No, they
bicycle.
don't.
Yeah, they
Bob
they
had,
do.
Bob had a good idea.
They do. They want to see how fast they can get from one end to the other, and they just weave in and out.
Who do you know?
Huh? I go up there and watch.
Some of the problem comes when both walkers and bikers are up there simultaneously, no matter what we do. If we're gonna let bikes up there, especially now, I think we have to limit a certain amount of time at a
Right.
certain time of the day
Correct.
for bicycles only. It's not that you can't cross over the boardwalk.
I don't think they'll let people bicycle. No, I don't think so.
Well, we just
That's why we
took,
go to the beach hours.
we just took all the bikes off the boardwalk this year. We've had both on the boardwalk for years and years and years. We just threw all bikers off the boardwalk completely. So there's no biking on the boardwalk and there's only pedestrians. Maybe we should do something different. And I'm not suggesting when to do it, what's best, I have no idea.
I really don't want to kick pedestrians off the boardwalk ever.
Well, then,
What I would like to do is give the bikes the time when the boardwalk is almost totally empty. Now, I've talked to all the cops in town, they know when the boardwalk is totally empty. And 10 to 5 or 10 to 3 would be a time to allow bikes to be up there while people are walking across to get to the beach or whatever they have to do. So I would go for that, right?
I wouldn't go for that.
No, you have just as many people on the boardwalk then.
We've been down this
Yeah.
road so many times. I can tell you, when I was a kid, my mom took my bike
I know,
from
we know that.
Memorial Day. And you know what? I heard Jim's story and I'm saying, how do you go from this place to that place? You flip it, it's simple as that.
Walk the
When you were a
bike.
kid, you either run or you walk and you go to point A to point B. So
So you
I'm
would go
certainly not in favor of it. I know that a lot of people do enjoy the bike in the morning. If they do, then I would consider going back to what we had, but I'm not willing to look at expanding this
Well,
thing.
then why don't we-
I know the kid with the surfboard racing down because the waves are good, getting to the surfing beach, and he's going past everybody that's trying to walk down the
Then
boardwalk.
let's go with Bob and let's try this. Let's try going back to what we had before.
I'm not.
Try
even
going back to
putting it
that.
up. Well, you can't do
Let's
it,
try going
well,
back.
you can't go back to what we had while
Why
we have
can't
social
No,
distancing.
we couldn't.
It is not
Social
possible.
distancing with a bicycle is easier than walking.
But then you have
The
to
person
take,
walking
you have
in
to
front
take
of
the
you,
walkers off. You can't have both.
One time.
You can't put both back on the boardwalk with social distancing required. It just doesn't work.
I don't think that's true.
Michael, you
So I would go with a half and half, maybe from 5 to 7, we have bikes, and from 7 to 9 or 7, whatever the hours are.
Why don't we just try it for another month and see what happens?
Why don't we
Let's see
just
how
try
it
and
goes.
go back to the way
Go
we
back
were?
to what we
No,
Back to the
no,
way
no,
we
just
were.
stay what we have.
No, I think we should
No
go back
bikes
to
at
the
all.
way we were.
No bikes at all.
I got no bikes, I got no pedestrians, I got bikes all the time, I got
We already
pedestrians all
tried
the time.
this, we already tried that. This time, why don't we try going back to what we had before? I'll go with what Bob said.
Oh,
I'll go with what Bob said.
Is that how we need to go back to,
I think we should go back
go
and
back
try
to
what
summer
we had
schedule
before.
effective immediately?
Yes,
You
Let's
can't,
go back.
how do you do that against the governor's directive?
the governor's not gonna see who's bike.
That doesn't make it right, Anita. That's like telling me you're gonna murder somebody,
All
but
right,
you
well,
don't
then
get
you
caught.
vote no.
I have a motion from Anita.
I think we should go back and try
I'll
it.
throw another one. How
Go ahead.
about if we allow, before the beach is open, which is what, next week?
The 20th.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, why don't we allow bikes on the boardwalk after 10 o'clock?
Because the summer crowd's on here, so you're not gonna learn anything. Because the
I think there's quite a few people here already.
It's just gonna cause confusion.
So after 10 o'clock, bicycles are on the, so in other words,
I think
walkers.
it's been working pretty good the way Dave suggested. We'll just do no bikes. We're good.
Mike,
You know, I don't think the mornings are gonna be good under the current, COVID-19 with the 6 feet. Can't ride a bike and stay 6 feet behind somebody walking.
You can't.
During the
Ride a bike and
bathing, during the bathing hours, you got emergency use on that boardwalk. You have people riding up and down the bike, that boardwalk's gotta be left open for emergency use during the bathing hours. Yeah, no, it's not, oh my God, I'm sorry, that's what it is.
Because there's a lot of people very upset about this.
we're gonna do it one at a time.
And I mean, I think for this year, it should stay the way we have.
That's 2.
I don't. I think for the next 2 weeks, we should try, as Bob said, let's do it the way we've always done
You
it.
made a motion and we didn't get a second.
I didn't hear a motion.
She made a motion and we
I'll
go back
make a
to,
motion, and I hope that people are not too unhappy with us. I'll make a motion that we go back to the way it was and try the way we've had it for years.
implement the summer schedule immediately.
Right, yeah. For the next 2 weeks, try it and see if it really is a big problem up there, then we'll change it. I think we should give it a,
And what hours is that? 5,
that was 5 in the morning to 10.
10?
5 in the morning to 10. I think we should give it a try. We're trying everything. We're trying,
Do I?
try this, we're trying.
She has a motion, there is no second yet.
Do I
There's no
don't have a
second.
second.
No
All right.
second.
Make the people in Loveland very happy with you.
No second, Anita, sorry about
Sorry.
that. Okay,
Okay.
moving on. Any other new business?
I'm just going to make a donation of $30 from the Loveland Mayor and Council to Save the Bay, Save the Barnard Bay. They were supposed to come and do a beautiful cleanup on the bay. They were all set. They never did it. And then we had to cancel Clean Ocean Action. Everything's been canceled, darn it. But anyway, I will make a donation of $30.
All right, we're gonna go to public comments at this point. Mr. Bryce?
Okay, we'll now open it to public comments. Any comments coming in from this period will be read.
Well, I think that we need to implement the rules, that we need to know the identity of the person asking, and we normally give 2 minutes per person, so how are we gonna jump back and forth from comment to comment to comment, and get into a conversation with these people? It's gonna be a little bit difficult, but we'll do the best we can. We want names and addresses of the people making the comments.
Okay. If they come in, I'll let you know. The first one to come in after we open it for comments was Mark Speaker, 111 Brown Avenue. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for making accommodations for our restaurants to begin reopening.
All right.
Next one is Susan Koch, 119 Camden. Any ideas when playgrounds and pavilion will be open?
That was my question too. I'm kind of curious about that, and I know you're gonna get what the governor's probably directive is, but to have the snow fences there, people are breaking them down. I can hear them breaking them down, and they're using the swings anyway, and I think they're more dangerous to have this snow fence or sand fences around those areas. I think it creates more of a hazard than just to leave them open, not giving people maybe permission to go back on the playgrounds, but to take the sand fences away. I think we're gonna have some injuries.
So the answer to her question is when the governor's orders say we can allow use, but Bob's recommendation is that we remove the fencing to
Yes.
prevent potential injuries.
Danger.
Next comment.
I like that.
One factor we do have to do with them before we open is the GIF did send us something. We need to have a sanitizing plan in place before we open that. So
Like after everybody gets off the swing, you have to have somebody there to wait to change.
I don't know if it's each.
It's each time, I think. I believe it's each time.
So
Well, we're not opening them, but we're taking them to sand pits. I haven't seen, I've been to Seaside Park, I've been to various places. They don't have the sand pits, and they may not allow it. We can still say we're not allowing people. They're playing basketball in the old courts this past weekend, and we're not allowing that, but then somebody took off the barriers and are starting to play. So I'm not sure how you, again, you're saying that we'd have to sanitize them. I'm not saying that we're allowing them to be open. I'm saying take down what I feel is a hazardous sand pits or stone pits.
Just put a sign up, keep
Yes.
off.
Yes.
Keep off, and if they decide to do it on their own,
All right.
we
And
post
no
it
one's
on sign.
calling you in the middle of the night because somebody impaled themselves on the sand pit.
Exactly,
You know, so
you know, especially a little kid falling off the top.
yes.
Next,
At this point, Mayor, I see no new incoming messages. Again, we had several beforehand, but
all right, we'll open it back up again after the council comments for one more shot. We gotta be a little flexible here. Jim, got any council comments?
Mayor, I think we may have neglected the passing of a longtime Marlboro resident, Debbie Esposito
I didn't hear about her either.
from New Jersey Avenue. She wasn't in town, I don't think, but she did pass.
Thank you for that. Mr. Philpott?
No, I'm fine.
Dave?
Nothing.
Mike?
No.
Bob? No. Mr. George, you still there?
I am here, Mayor.
Mr. George, can you give us an update on Capriccios?
I will, Your Honor. The Enforcement Bureau of the Division of ABC wrote an action against the license holder, which is Sherman Hospitality, to revoke their license. The director's office gave Level an opportunity to respond to the public health, safety, and welfare portion of the enforcement. The Enforcement Bureau is handling the actual violations themselves. I spoke with the director's office on Friday with regard to our objection to the license continuing and our request that it be revoked. I have requested that it be revoked and returned to Lavalette. However, they advise that because Lavalette, due to its size and its population, already has too many liquor licenses, that in the event that it is revoked, it will simply be revoked for all times and not returned to Lavalette. So it would be revoked if the Enforcement Bureau is successful.
We really have an issue with placement of it if it were come back to life anyway. So does anybody have an objection to continuing to request revocation, knowing that it will not come back?
We lose it.
We lose it. No objection?
Are they gonna buy it from us?
No,
No, it just goes away.
no. I think I discussed it with Mr. Bryce. I believe in the Lenny's litigation, the cost when they bought it from Crohn's was only $75,000 anyway. It's not like it's a huge money maker for the borough. After the initial buy-in, let's say a couple $1,000s a year, it's probably not worth the headache in my mind. Along with where is it going to be sited, you know, as new things are built, it's less and less likely that anybody's going to want another bar in their backyard here. So just as long as everybody understands that if it's revoked, it's gone, then our position can continue to be that we're seeking revocation.
Who owns the license?
It's owned by the name of the company that owns it again?
Sean?
The
Sherman
name is
Hospitality.
Sherman Hospitality LLC.
Oh.
That was operated at a restaurant known as Capriccio.
Okay, thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Bryce, anything from you personally with regard to comments?
for me personally, no, sir.
Okay. I'm good too. Hopefully at the next meeting, we will try, depending upon what the governor says, to actually have the public in attendance. We'll see what the regs look like. This worked out okay. But, you know, we'd love to be back to normal as soon as possible. Anita?
I didn't get a chance to say.
I'm sorry.
Sorry about the bicycles. I'm really sorry for all you people out
I
there.
didn't do that intentionally.
That's I know. That you don't want your kids riding on the highways. You'd rather park, on boardwalk, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, any other comments? One last time, Mr. Price.
I have no comments that fit with the requirement that they provide. in that.
Okay, very good. Then the appropriate motion now is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. George.